Welcome back. Great to be here with you today on this week's Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast, episode 32. If you're looking for any of the show notes, any of the links today, they will be at ihp.coach/032. Today's topic of the week is going into and really dives into the topic that everyone's going to have to deal with at least at some point in their life, and that is dealing with self-doubt and criticism. Now, so more than ever, it's more online than it may be in person, and there are reasons for that. We'll certainly get into it. But also, it's simply part of the growth of your own journey, meaning that as you begin to do new things, step outside of your natural comfort zone and boundaries, and we'll talk about that, you're going to experience a level of doubt. And that level of doubt only comes from a place of trying to keep you safe. So if you already understand that self-doubt comes from your body wanting to maintain itself in a safe, secure place, then you can begin to realize that subconscious is just there to protect you. And I talk about this a lot more on the Cabral Concept podcast on our Motivation and Mindset Mondays. But that self-doubt is something that really holds people back, meaning that even if they don't feel their life is in a good spot right now, and they know that becoming a health coach, maybe a personal trainer, maybe a yoga instructor, maybe a doctor, that self-doubt doesn't allow them to take that next step in life. So all of their dreams, all of their goals are put on hold because of this self-doubt that blocks them from taking the next step. But if we first and foremost begin to understand that self-doubt is only there to keep us in this spot, even if it's not our favorite spot, even if we're not really happy, we at least know how to deal with where we're at right now in life. But taking that next leap, that next step to become a certified integrative health practitioner or a personal trainer or whatever it might be, that can be scary. It's at least scary to the nervous system, right? To the subconscious. But here's what you can do. You can begin to have that conversation with your nervous system saying, listen, I know that we don't necessarily know what the future is going to hold. I know that this is something that's new for both of us, right? For your conscious mind and your subconscious, which lives in the nervous system. However, we've gotten through hard times before, and we're going to get through this as well. No matter what, we're going to make it. And look at the potential future. The future is so bright. So it's a great way to look at self-doubt in that way. However, there's much more. So I did a 2-day live IHP event in Australia, and it was absolutely amazing. And I got to meet over 50 of our integrative health practitioners there. And again, I really wanted to do in Australia because we have such a great community there, thriving community. And not everybody, was going to take the trip to Australia, which is literally 24 hours away from Boston, Massachusetts to get there. But it was completely worth it. I loved it. I loved meeting those practitioners. But I did a talk on the imposter syndrome. And out of all the talks we did over 2 days, and there was about a dozen, that one was one of the most popular. And I couldn't believe it. I did not expect it. So many people brought up over and over, I don't feel I'm ready. I don't feel I'm worthy. I'm not as good as that person. There's all of this doubt from the imposter syndrome. And I'm going to link up another podcast that just goes in depth on this as well at the show notes today at ihp.coach/032. But I couldn't believe it. So much so that when we launched IHP Mastery, we made self-doubt, habit change, and overcoming the imposter syndrome multiple modules. Out of the 11 modules, there's 2 to 3 that just deal with this particular topic for you so that you can go out there and better serve others. And then, of course, when you overcome self-doubt, when you overcome the imposter syndrome, then you can, of course, teach it to your clients as well, because it has to do with every facet of life. Like, you'll have clients that will say, who am I to be the only one in my family to get well? Who am I to be the only one in my family to lose the 50 extra pounds or the 100 extra pounds, right? There are people that believe this. It may not be in your psyche, but it is in theirs. So we have to be really conscious of this, that this is going on with our clients as well. And if you're a doctor, this is going on with your patients. Really, really important, because we have to remember, we're one part body, but we're also one part mind. And our psychology absolutely affects our physiology. and our mood, right? And our body can also affect our mind as well. So this is just so, so important, is understanding that we all deal with the imposter syndrome. We all deal with self-doubt. And here's the thing too, you have to understand is it's never going to go away. It goes away for every situation as you jump forward, as you take action, as you realize that you can do this, that you might not know how, but you're going to figure out a way. But every time you meet a new challenge, a new area in your life that's new to you, there's always the imposter syndrome. There's always self-doubt. I don't know if I can do this. I want to share just a couple stories with you, and then we're going to get to some criticism, how to deal with that as well. But when I was first starting out in my career, I was opening my first studio. So I was opening my first studio, and this was in 2006, moving into 2007. And I told this was nutrition, and it was exercise, personal training based. And I told my family about it, told my parents about it. I was super excited. I was just about to sign the lease. And so I shared it with my parents, and they were less than excited. Let's just put it that way. They talked to me about all the risk it was going to be, how much money it was going to be to build out the studio, which again, I already took that into consideration. They told me about having to keep that the rent as the overhead over my head, and couldn't I just stay in a nice, safe, secure job and get a paycheck? And I was taken aback. Here I was going out into the world, living my dreams, opening which I didn't know would be my first of multiple locations, and super excited. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. I meant to go out there. I meant to help people. I meant to serve. I meant to help hire other personal trainers and nutritionists and create jobs for them. And I was super excited. I was mid-20s at that point, late 20s, somewhere around there, mid-20s. And I was excited, yet my parents weren't. What did I do? I took into consideration their thoughts, their words that they shared with me. However, I realized that this was my dream and not theirs. They didn't have to be excited for me if they chose not to. I also couldn't let their fears and their insecurities and their issues around safety and security with a paycheck affect ultimately what I wanted to do in my life. And again, I have great parents. I have amazing parents. They're very good people. But we have to understand that parents and many people in our life want us to take the safe and secure route. And the reason why they want that is just like our subconscious. They don't want anything bad to happen to us, that they are still our parents. And our subconscious is like our parent that lives inside of us, that was basically formed before the age of 8 years old and then reinforced through our teenage years and up to about 25 years old. So you have to understand, this is all protective. They're not trying to hurt you, but they can hold you back from living your best life. They can absolutely hold you back from your dreams, your goals, your desires. And that's simply because they want to keep you safe. So if you understand that, again, you can see like it's not their fault. They didn't do anything mean. They didn't do anything bad. And of course, after about 6 months, I built, my practice up and 2 other people that I hired at that first studio. And we were doing 400 sessions a month. And that was really exciting because it was proof of concept, helping, people. I mean, that's it. Like, we were helping people, and we were already starting to build a name for ourselves. And if you know that time, there was also the big recession and market crash, and yet we still thrived because we had a model that worked without having to help thousands of people. We could each help. If you've tuned back to previous IHP podcasts, I teach you how many clients you need to be successful, and it's not that many. So we helped people. We were successful. Eventually, I grew that first location to about 1,300 sessions per month with quite a number of personal trainers, about a dozen different personal trainers. And so that was again, very successful. The same thing happened when I opened my second location, but this time I knew. I had proof of concept. I knew that even though I was taking essentially my life savings, and again, this isn't right for everyone, that I was going to make sure that it worked because I had the right motive, I had the right goal, and I also had a blueprint. I knew how to create a successful business that helped people and that could pay the bills, pay the overhead, and thrive and be very profitable as well. So that's again, you can't just go out there and just be like, I'm going to make it happen. You need to have a blueprint. And then you follow the blueprint. You have a mentor, you have a coach, whatever it might be, a consultant to help you with that, and you can make it happen. And what I want to share with you, though, along the way, too, is that if you're doing big things, if you stick your neck out there by preaching and sharing a message that you believe, it doesn't mean that it's going to be shared by all. It doesn't mean it's going to be well received by all. Some people will criticize you. They will say you don't know what you're talking about. They will say that what you're doing in the health-based field isn't science-based, right? Or they'll say that, who are you to be giving this type of information? You're not a medical doctor. Well, the truth is this, is we all have our own unique attributes. We all have our own education. I'm not a medical doctor. I didn't study pharmaceuticals. Do I know about them? Sure. That's not my forte. I didn't study to become a surgeon or an emergency room doctor. Those doctors are brilliant in their own right. But I don't take away from their brilliance by teaching people about integrative health, about naturopathy, right? And you, if you're a personal trainer, you don't take away from anybody else by teaching them great nutrition, exercise, etc. Same with acupuncture, same with chiropractic, same with whatever. We need every single modality and every single person teaching from their unique perspective in order to help this world. And people ask me all the time, well, does the world really need any more health coaches? Well, there's 8 billion people on Earth. 3 billion people now have basically access to the internet. And there's a couple 100,000 health coaches, right? Like, yes, the world needs you, but also, why would they need you instead of me or someone else? Because you connect with people in your own way. Not everybody connects with me. Not everybody connects with a message or voice that I have. They may connect with you. That's why we need everyone out there. People relate to different people. Let me give you another story here as well. I was very young at the time. I was around the same time about my studio, mid-20s or so, when I wrote for Condé Nast magazine that owned self.com, that owned Self. That's what I wrote for in Condé Nast. And I wrote a daily article for them. I published over 1,200 different articles. And these were paid articles. And there's only 3 of us. And I was writing every single day on nutrition and body transformation. That was my forte in my early 20s. I went back in my late 20s to get my degree as a doctor of naturopathy. Did my internships late 20s, early 30s. And then I've been practicing ever since in terms of integrative health, naturopathy, functional medicine, etc. However, back in my earlier days, I was known for nutrition. And it's because I started studying nutrition around 18 years old. I had read hundreds and thousands of books on nutrition and exercise, got my certifications, all these different things. So it was just kind of a building block. And I got recognized for writing a bunch of different posts, which was great because I love to write. I always loved to teach. So I got hired. There's 3 of us. I can still remember the team that I work with, really great, passionate group of people. Well, there was this exercise physiologist, and again, I can remember it to this day, who was my biggest critic. Anything that I wrote automatically on that blog post, on that article post, they would always have some obscure contraindication, which is true. Again, like you have to keep in mind that when you're writing a 600-word article, you can't write every contraindication or every, if I'm talking to you about, for example, vitamin C, or I'm talking to you about quercetin, or I'm talking to you about stinging nettles. Like, there's going to be a random contraindication for everything in the world, And this person was my biggest critic. And so I learned at a young age that there will be criticism out there. I didn't understand it at the time because I wasn't out there criticizing other people. So I'm like, why is this person criticizing me? But at the same time, I knew what I was talking about. I knew that I could teach people nutrition. So the head of the company said, listen, this person obviously doesn't like you or just has an issue with you. Let me see if I can have a conversation with this person. Turned out that it was a professor at a college. They taught exercise physiology. They had a PhD, and they were upset. They felt they should be the one writing and getting this type of notoriety, where I wasn't really doing this for notoriety. I was doing this because it's what I love to do. And so what I realized over time was that your critics or haters, they are people that are often envious, the most envious of what you're doing. And when you realize that, you say, I get it. They want to be in this position because If not, why would they keep tuning in every single day to see what you're doing, right? If they didn't really believe in what you did and they didn't really like what you were doing, they wouldn't keep tuning in. They tune in because they're envious. They're a little bit jealous that they would like to be in the position that you're in. Now, again, that doesn't need to feed your ego. It just says, I get it. I understand. There are always going to be people out there that are going to try to be the crab in the bucket, right? If you've never heard the crab in the bucket analogy, it means that the reason why when you go crabbing and you get a big bucket of crabs, you've gone crabbing, you pull the crabs out of the water, you put them in a bucket, but you never need to put a lid on that bucket. And the reason why you never need to put a lid on a bucket of crabs is that when one crab is about to escape, the other crabs pull that crab back down. And so you have to understand in life that there's a lot of people that are crabs. And as you're starting to pull away from the pack, as you start to pull away and become a little extraordinary, away from the ordinary, there are going to be people who want to pull you back down. You have to understand that's always on them. They are showing you the external vision, the external words of how they feel on the inside. They are envious. They wish they could be doing that, but they're not going after it. So because they're not going after it, they feel that you shouldn't have it as well. And because of that, you get the criticism. Now, when you do understand that that person is essentially hurt, that they are not doing the things that they believe that they should be doing, that they don't feel like they've reached their own potential, you can look at that person with a little bit different eyes, maybe even a little bit of kindness, that you understand and you realize that only hurt people, right? If you don't have an ego issue inside, if you're not a hurt individual, and you wish the best for everyone, you're not going to go out there criticizing people. There's no need. Even online, when I see people giving incorrect information, I don't feel a need to try to show them up on social media. Why would I do that? I don't need to do that. I understand that maybe they are up and coming in their journey, just like all of us, and we all have more to learn, right? But it's only the people that decide to take that next step and criticize others that are the most hurt, the most wounded inside. So when those things happen, you just have to keep going back to your why. Understand why it is that you are a health coach, a health practitioner. Understand why you have decided to help other people. When you go back to that, no matter how much criticism in the world, no matter how much doubt there is, even self-doubt as well, you're always going to be able to push forward just through that day. And if you get through that day, tomorrow will take care of itself. And I'm telling you right now that if you've chosen this profession, a profession that isn't the easiest in the world to do, but it can be the absolute most rewarding, don't let anybody hold you back, and that includes yourself, from being able to have the enjoyable, successful career that you deserve. Take care, have an amazing day, and of course, always let us know what you thought. Do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve.